Welcome to Two Drugged Girls,
the podcast where two girls,
no, women,
on the verge of a nervous breakdown,
sit around and shoot the shit.
and shoot the science in 45 minutes or less.
But probably more.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica.
And we'll be talking all things millennial, sex, relationships, and pop culture.
But also the latest science studies and trends being young women in STEM.
And of course, being on prescription drugs.
We're a podcast for women, by women.
But men can come too. Hey! Welcome to Two Drugged Girls. I'm Rachel.
I'm Jessica.
And this is episode 3, Studebt. The idea for this episode comes to you courtesy of my phone's autocorrect. I felt like it was fitting. Constantly, it wants me to change student into Studebt. And yeah, it couldn't be more correct. How much student debt do you have?
Ooh, currently I owe about 40 grand.
Yeah. I'm at about 36, but I still have a year and a half left to go at 10 grand a year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But you worked all through school, whereas I didn't.
I did,
I only worked in the summers.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Here's the thing. It's like, we live in a place where we have a ton of opportunities, especially me. I'm in a great spot where, you know, if I was 7 years younger, having parents who make below the poverty line, I could go to school for free in theory. But we are a generation behind that possibility. Mm-hmm. So I had to pay for a little bit of school. And like, it's not just school, it's living expenses, because I didn't get the opportunity to live at home. So, just life and living got crazy expensive. But for people like you, whose parents made enough money, but not enough to be able to support all 5 kids going to university, so you had to pay for it yourself, you get screwed over.
Totally. And if I tried to apply for government grants, they wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah.
I think I got it for 1 year, and it was because I was a mature student taking a second degree, and tuition that year was like 10 grand, so I think they gave me like maybe 7. That's
nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we can't complain because we're not in the States where we pay $40,000 a year, but we're not able to successfully set up our lives for when we graduate. You know, we're going to be paying this debt off well into our 30s, probably our 40s.
Yeah.
And that's debilitating, especially when you're trying to not just start a life, but like, you know, have a family, buy a house, and try to save for your retirement so that you're not working until you're 85 years old.
Which is a very real possibility right now.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to shoot the shit and talk about a couple things regarding student debt. The first one is this report that I found on Global News that talked about, it was back in September 2017, and it talked about Canadian graduates and how much have student debt. So the really crazy statistic I saw was about 3/4 or 77% of Canadian graduates under 40 have some regret about the money they spent while in school, according to a poll that was released by debt firm BDO Canada.
Wow.
Which is nuts. And I mean, that to me is like, what money are they talking about, money spent in school? Is it that they spent, you know, their OSAP or government assistance or line of credit on...
Partying.
Exactly, a trip to Cuba or, you know, living in an expensive downtown condo with a couple friends when really they could have saved money by either living at home if they had that opportunity or, you know, living in a really cheap area,
or even residence if possible.
Or even res. Didn't we know someone who, like, I think we had a friend who moved into res even though he had the opportunity to live at home.
Yeah.
How expensive is that? Just to have that opportunity of like living in res and like being away from your parents. I mean, that's an expensive decision.
It really is. And the thing is, he ended up moving out after like a semester.
Yeah.
And I think he still had to pay for the second semester, but he couldn't stand his roommate. So like... that whole decision kind of blew up in his face, and he ended up moving back home for a bit. I don't know. It's,
I mean, I lived in res when I started my master's, because I was out in... I got into a university where they had 2 campuses, one downtown, and then one in the boonies.
On an island.
Which was where I was. So there were no living opportunities really. And it was in a really affluent neighborhood. Like, it is in an affluent neighborhood. So there's no way I could afford to live there beyond residence. So I did, and it was the most lonely experience I had ever had in my entire life. And I had a roommate who she was 19, I think. So,
bit of an age difference.
Yeah. But, she was really nice. I had no complaints about her, apart from cleanliness, but, like, whatever, I got over it. She listened to me when I would ask her something or tell her, that I felt really... that I needed her to clean. Yeah, then she would. She wasn't disobedient or anything. She listened.
Mama Rachel.
Yeah, right. But it still was so, so lonely. And I went from living, with my partner and our dogs to being alone for the majority of the day and going to class. I mean, I only had a couple classes that I was taking that first semester that I was there. So there's a lot of downtime. I remember taking the shuttle bus that would take you from that island campus to the downtown campus. And I'd take the shuttle a couple times a day and just like walk around downtown. I had no money, so I couldn't buy anything or go shopping. But I would just hang around like the main downtown area and walk around and window shop and try clothes on because I was just so fucking bored out of my mind.
Oh my God.
It was so lonely.
Just a totally different from what you're used to here at home.
Absolutely. Because I did my 2 undergrads at home, like in my hometown.
Where all your friends are.
All my friends, exactly. Everything was so familiar to me. So being away, and I wasn't working for those first couple months because I quit my job because I was like, I'm moving out into the middle of nowhere. I can't really work because I'll be busy with my master's, and that was such a mistake because I just didn't know what to do with all of that free time on my hands.
Yeah. Luckily they took you back though.
Yeah, that's true. I went begging. Okay, so further in the report, they talked about how 30% of graduates would have had more frugal budgets. Some would have worked more during school, 28%, and 25% would have avoided other debt by staying away from credit cards and car loans.
See, I was good. I did have a credit card simply for big purchases like textbooks and that kind of thing. But my limit was only $1,000.
Yeah.
And like that is a very manageable limit. If I had more, I probably would have gone into credit card debt.
Yeah,
but I refused to do that. I was like, no, I'm not going to let myself get to that point.
Yeah.
So I already knew like 40 grand. I know in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much.
But
like
still.
you buy a house and it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, but 40 grand to a, 18, 19-year-old girl who's never really had to deal with money is a lot of money.
Are you on any kind of repayment assistance? Like, are you paying it back yet?
So I am paying it back. I've been paying it back basically since there's a 6-month grace period after you finish school.
Right.
But just recently, because of my medical costs with all of my diabetes medications and this and that, I was able to go on repayment assistance. So for the next 6 months, I don't have to pay, they cover the interest. And then in 6 months, I'll have to reevaluate and see if I can start paying again.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, my government loan ones were only, I think, $83 a month.
Yeah.
It's like I'd be paying it off for the next 15 years, but but still, like $83 is pretty manageable.
Yeah.
It's my line of credit that's the $40,000 one. They take easily at least $300 a month, but then sometimes it's more like $500.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to pay it off as fast as I can, so it makes sense for me to just, dig away as best I can and put all of my money. Like, I have no savings because all I do is put my money into paying back my loans.
See, and how are you supposed to start out your life? That's the thing. It's like when you're bogged down by these bills and then, with health issues, when you have these drugs that cost money and you have your car payment and you have gas and you have your phone bill and like just basic living things, how are you supposed to get ahead in life? Like, how are you supposed to set yourself up to have a family, to set yourself up for retirement? Like, it's mind-boggling to me. I was saying to JP, like, I would totally like pay more taxes if I was guaranteed by the government some way, somehow, to have stable income.
Yeah.
And great job opportunities.
Yeah.
And a manageable housing market.
Yes.
To be able to buy a house and to successfully have a job and keep that job, I would absolutely pay more taxes in order to support the aging population.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I have a question, though. Do you regret any of your degrees?
I regret my...
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely where the student that I am now is nowhere near the student that I was when I started.
Right.
I think I definitely, if I could go back in time, I actually would, and change something, I would take a gap year.
Really?
Yeah, I really would.
To figure out more what you wanted to do?
To figure out what I wanted to do to make money. I think, you were the same. I was that student in high school, all throughout elementary school and high school, who was good in science and math.
Yeah.
So everyone says, oh, you're good in science and math, you should be a doctor.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they, and by they I mean, our educators and our parents, I don't think that they open their minds to other science opportunities.
No.
And other career paths, because medicine is, not only is it darn tough to get into, it's also such a burden.
It's grueling.
It's grueling. Like, nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers, they have, even teachers to some extent, I think, it's different traits, but I think, there are personality types. When you say personality types have certain careers, and it's like people who work crazy hours, like firefighters and doctors and nurses, it's like, and police officers, they have, they're so selfless, and, they love it, and the passion drives them to work 18, 24, 36-hour shifts. And I just don't have that drive.
Neither do I.
I don't want to. I want to have a life. I want to have a family. I want, not that those people don't or that they can't have those things.
It's just a different type of life
exactly.
than what you want.
And I just, to me, it's not worth it to me to make those sacrifices.
Okay.
And so when I was 18, of course, I wanted to be a doctor, and I thought, I'm in science, I'm good at it. We took those basic bio and, psychology and all those classes, because my first degree is essentially a pre-med degree. A friend of ours went to med school and is now a doctor, and he was in the same program that I was in. And we know a few other people who were in that same program or similar programs that went on to med school. It just is not for me, and I found that out probably about third year, and it was a little bit too late. Exactly. So I was faced with either continuing for another year and graduate and, have that piece of paper and really have the rewards of this, several years that I had spent there, or I could have moved on and done something else, maybe enter in to another program, let's say at second year, because they really don't transfer a lot of the credits. Because let's face it, universities are institutions, they're businesses, they need to make money.
Yeah.
And, I could have spent another 4 or 5 years trying to get another degree to figure out what I wanted to do and only end up with one piece of paper. So I definitely think that it taught me a lot, but I totally would have done a gap year.
Interesting.
Are you okay with the degrees that you chose?
You know what? At this point, no. If you had asked me at the end of my degree, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
But now, because everything I thought I knew about my future, I'm really questioning now. Like, I did science, and I knew I was going to become a teacher. Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to do high school or elementary school, but I wanted to have my, high school teachables.
Do you?
So I do have my teachables, but I don't have a degree to teach high school. I would have to go back for another year to do that. I could do it online, but it's more money, and so now I don't know. I look at my degree; it's sitting there, framed and pretty, and actually both of them, and I'm just thinking, like, why? Like, where am I? I'm 40 grand in debt, and I don't have a job, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. So, who knows?
If you could do anything as a job, money is not an issue. Time isn't an issue. What would you do?
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. Jesus. Rachel, way to put me on the spot.
Anything in the world.
If I could not be stressed and anxious about life,
right,
I would teach.
Yeah.
If money and all that, if there was no issues, 100% I would teach.
Well, talking about personality types, like, you have the personality type of a teacher. You have the patience of Jesus Christ himself.
You say that, but like...
No, but you do.
If you could hear my internal dialogue most of the time, I think you'd question
Who cares what's going on the inside? It's what happens on the outside.
Touche.
Right? And you have a gift of being able to explain things and communicate, which people, it's, believe me, incredibly tough to do. I struggle with it every day. So, I mean, you are a teacher.
Oh.
Even if you're not actively teaching right now, you're a teacher.
Oh, thanks, Rach.
No, you're welcome. That's truth.
That's very validated.
Okay, so we're going to move on.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about school pride.
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you and I are kind of in the same boat here.
Yeah.
Pause
for a second. Edit this out. Okay.
So, zero school pride in terms of university. Like,
yeah.
Which, I shouldn't really say zero. It was minimal. The only time I really liked to be like, rah, rah, go Ottawa U, is if we were at Jockey Club.
Yeah.
Shout out to
drunk.
My Jockey Club people. Drunk off our butts.
Yeah.
Getting crappy food, puking in pints at the friggin' bar before going to see our basketball team play.
Or in Ziploc bags.
Out the window of the school bus. Like, that's really the only time I was ever rah Ottawa U. I think part of the issue, and you have a different perspective because you've been to 3 different schools. Mm-hmm. Part of the issue is our school was so big.
Yeah.
There's so many people.
And it's in the downtown core, spread out.
Yeah.
So there's no, and at least I didn't feel like there was a sense of community.
No, not at all. Mm-hmm. Not at all. It's like, no, just not at all. But you, so you did Ottawa U first.
Yeah.
And I think you feel the same way about Ottawa U as I
Absolutely.
do. But then you went to Carleton, and Carleton has a very different vibe
Yeah.
here in Ottawa. It has its own little campus.
Yeah. Carleton's it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's like in a pocket that's in the middle of nowhere, so it's accessible. But it's definitely a much smaller campus, much tighter community. Yeah. I mean, I made a concerted effort to get involved because I found that when I graduated Ottawa U, there's not a single soul who could say, who like go to Ottawa U or who work at Ottawa U, who could say that I've been there.
Yeah.
No one.
No one knows your name. You're just a number.
Exactly. And so when I got to Carleton, I was like, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to get involved with everything that I can. And so, when they do like all those club fair stalls and stuff like that during like Spirit Week and the first week that that classes are starting. So I got involved. I got involved with this really cool organization called The Collective, the Garden Spot, or the G Spot.
I like that.
Carleton Collective. And so they basically receive donations from local businesses that have produce or perishables and non-perishables that are going to waste. And so we collect them and then we cook them in a kitchen and feed the campus. So
whoever needs a meal
can just show up, exactly, and it's free. And everything is, it's super neatly labeled, but we mostly cooked, everything was vegan and we mostly cooked gluten-free as well.
Wow.
So it was a really, really cool opportunity. I also introduced myself to all of the professors, and granted, I was in a really small program. There were about, I think, 40 of us who graduated in 1 year.
Okay.
And so there were only like 4 or 5 professors that we had, apart from your general like chemistry, bio, blah blah blah. But I didn't have to take those because those credits transferred. So I introduced myself, shook their hand, and I said, if you need any help in your labs, I'm your gal. And so one wonderful, wonderful professor, Apollo Somo, he is fantastic. He's essentially a food chemist, but I volunteered in his lab, and through that got a publication and gained so much experience.
Yeah.
We had a professor who came in for one who was on mat leave, and he taught microbiome, and I got a job opportunity through him because he works for the federal government. So I worked there for a year under him, and that was also an incredible experience. So I threw myself in. I was president of my program student society. Both feet.
I remember you being so effing busy.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this girl? She never did any of this in our undergrad at Ottawa U. What happened?
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah, and I wanted to leave a mark, and I also wanted to make sure, because I knew that I was probably going to pursue graduate studies, and it's tough. Like, it's super tough. I mean, I'm in a program where I really, ultimately, what matters were grades. And I had the grades, so I was fine, but I had a friend who is doing her master's in nutritional sciences, and she is at U of T, and it was like, I remember she was going like every other weekend to go meet the coordinator, the lab coordinator, meet the professor, because she had to contact someone who was doing research that she was kind of interested in. So, like, if you want to do a research-based or a thesis-based master's,
you have to find someone.
You have to find someone, exactly.
Supervise you.
And then they vouch for you when you ultimately apply to the university. So it's like sort of two-armed in how you apply and get those spots. And it's crazy competitive, and I knew that I was going to be, have tons of competition. So I made sure that I had all of my bases covered in terms of like extracurriculars, grades, everything. Yeah.
I don't know how you didn't burn out.
Well, I burned out a little bit toward the end because I was working. I ended up extending my contract at the government, which was unexpected. And so I was also working at the coffee shop job at the time. So, I was a supervisor. So I ended up demoting myself and going down to just working as
regular barista.
Regular barista, exactly. Just so that I didn't have that time commitment. I could go down to like 8 hours a week as opposed to the 24 plus that I was doing. Yeah. Plus working for the government. Plus I was doing my research thesis. Plus the 5 classes that I was taking per semester. I was so tired. So, yeah, that was a bit more manageable. Definitely.
Just so different from your undergrad.
So different. When I was my first undergrad, it was like we went to class and hardly. And then,
I was going to say, did we though?
And then came home and I laid on the couch and
rewatched Buffy.
Watched Buffy. Oh my God. So much Buffy, or like Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
And didn't study. I did have a job, and then I had 2 jobs in the summer. But other than that, like I just didn't do anything.
Yeah. And we thought we had it so tough.
Oh my God. Well, it was. That transition.
It was mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
Learning all that we did learn in those years.
Absolutely. But anyway, so with School Pride, we get sidetracked. With School Pride, this is something that I think I see more often in the United States.
Yeah.
Really?
And I've never really understood it, but I know it exists.
Yeah.
But only because I watch television shows.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, and then maybe it's glorified and it's not actually true. But then I see, I have friends who are in the States, and they go to, like, games and stuff from their alma mater, and it's like, the mom went, the dad went, and that's probably how they met.
Yeah.
And then they have their grown kids who also went to that same school, and then they met their significant other at that same school, and then they have kids who go to the, feeder elementary school, and it's like, I don't have that, because, I went to different schools, and, I mean, going back to Carleton, it's like they had a much tighter community, and McGill itself, I've not been to any of the school events or anything, besides the Woodsman competition, which, hello.
Because it's
lumberjacks who are delicious looking. But, apart from that, like, we just don't have that really in Canada. No. But you went to homecoming at Queen's.
Because my best friend was going to school there.
Right.
Actually, I had a couple friends going there. And they were notorious for having massive parties. So, like, I did not give a hoot about the game.
Yeah.
Like, but zero fucks were given about the game, okay? If I didn't go to the game, I would have been fine. It was the street parties and, like, just that overall craziness.
But do you think it's because they were in super small towns where there was nothing else but the school?
I mean, probably. And also, Queen's is a richy rich school, right?
Yeah.
It's all the rich Toronto kids, and, I mean, they all drive daddy's Lamborghinis. Not exactly, but
nice.
More or less. And, like, they had money to burn, and they didn't care if, like, they had to pay damages to their landlord because their couch or whatever put a hole in the wall. Like,
that's insane.
They just didn't care. Oh, that was a good party, though, gotta say. Literally, the year we went was, I think, the year they ended up canceling.
Oh, God.
Because it got too wild, and they have to bring in cops from, like, 4 cities around Kingston.
Because it's such a small...
And riot squads, and, like, every second square on the sidewalk, there's a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, half the time they're, like, smoking cigars with us, just shooting shit, but they were there. Good times. Good
Yeah,
times.
right? Okay, so school pride doesn't really exist in our world.
No.
But it exists.
And, like, I look at, like, Friday Night Lights and television, but it's what they did. Like, that was their life. The entire town would, like, shut down, and then everyone would go watch the game.
The entire town doesn't even go to, like, our hockey games, and that's, like, our national sport. Like, there's
our
no
owner's
other...
threatening to sell because no one's going to our games.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
And it's, like, the only professional sport, really. We have, do we have a soccer team? Oh, we have a football team. But, like, no one goes.
I think more people have been going, but that's only because it's a resurgence, right? We didn't have a football team for many years, and now they're back. So people... And we were doing well.
Yeah,
we
that's
went to the Grey Cup.
Did we win?
I think we did. That was, like, 2 years ago. Don't ask me things that long ago. Anyway.
Okay. This is the last topic I want to shoot the shit about. Summer backpack trips.
Okay.
So,
you've done one.
I've done 2.
Oh my god, you've done 2. I have a big fat goose egg in that department.
Yeah. My thing is like, okay, it's very cliche. That people graduate from, high school, university, graduate school, whatever. They're not tied down. Like, I get it. They're not tied down. They don't have huge major responsibilities besides their student debt. And they go away for the summer or for a few weeks, usually to Europe, and go backpacking. Okay, so the Chicago Tribune had an article about the top 11 trips to take post-graduation. I'm just going to shoot them real fast at you, and you tell me if you would go.
Okay.
First one, Croatia.
Hells yes.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Second one, Prague.
I've heard good things, but I don't really care for it.
I've been. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Montreal.
I mean, that's a day trip for me. It's an hour away.
Seriously, I go to school in Montreal. New Zealand.
Oh my god, if it didn't cost so much damn money, I would go.
Seriously. Like, a plane ticket is like, what, $2,000?
Probably. My best friend just got a camper van, and they just did it for like a week and lived in a green van. Shout out to Juicy.
That's insane. Cuba.
No.
I have no desire.
No.
And I don't want to go to a resort.
If it was winter and I had money to go lay on a beach, hells yes.
Right?
Other than that, no, not for like not to explore.
No. Plus, it's like dangerous.
Yeah. No.
Okay, Peru.
Machu Picchu, I'd be down.
Yeah, it's too hot for me. I have no desire to go to anywhere in South America.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, Bali, Indonesia.
Yep, I would go. I would combine it with
The New Zealand,
Australia,
Australia, yeah. Because I'm not going all the way there.
Just to go. No.
See, I don't want to go there. It's too hot. There's a pattern. Iceland, I would
Hells
go.
yes.
But, okay. Apparently everything there, like, once you're there, is pretty expensive.
I'd believe that.
And you probably have to do a lot of driving.
Probably. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't drive, so I'll go with you.
We're going to get you a license, girl.
Eventually. Amsterdam.
Nah, I don't really care for it.
I would go.
See, Europe doesn't interest me.
Really?
Not really.
Why?
The only place I want to go is, like, Ireland.
Okay, I want to go to Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Just because I have family there I've never met.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe Croatia. Croatia's on my list.
Oh, yeah. Mexico City.
No.
No, me neither.
I'm sure
scary.
it's scary, especially, I don't know, especially
At night?
for Canadians, but, like, a lot of Canadians keep getting murdered over there.
Yeah, and abducted, and, like, I'm not about to do that.
life.
I mean, there's tons of rich history there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But...
like, cultural.
Yeah.
Just, I'm
Great
sure it would be
food.
amazing.
Yeah, but no.
I don't feel safe.
No. Right, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
What's your top destination to ever go to?
That I've been to?
Or that you want to go to?
I really want to go to, like, Norway, Sweden. Because, especially, like, in the summer, I just want to bike around, see all the sights, eat the great food, live, like, so healthy. I really want to go there. Best place I've ever been to already? Probably Vienna.
Okay.
Austria is beautiful.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Gorgeous. And very different on one side, because Vienna's sort of on the eastern side, and then we went to the western side, we went to Salzburg, and it's where the Alps are.
Oh
yeah. My God. And
breathtaking.
it looks like a postcard. Like, it doesn't look real. And they have like those real Dutch houses.
Yeah.
Traditional old houses. It's gorgeous. Wow. What about you?
For sure, top of my list would be Ireland.
Yeah.
And then Croatia's always been on there. Always. I think it's so beautiful. Every time people go, I'm so envious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also never been anywhere hot, so like I wouldn't mind in the middle of Canadian winter to go somewhere warm and read a book on a beach for a week. I don't even need to drink. Just like give me some vitamin D and I'll get friggin' intoxicated off of that, because homegirl is lacking in the vitamin D right now.
Going on a backpacking trip is super privileged.
Yes.
Let's just put that out there. Not everybody has the money, because even if you're backpacking and you're staying in hostels, it's still expensive.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly privileged to be able to take time out of your life and go spend a few $1,000s gaining experience.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that opportunity. There's another article that I read about service trips and voluntourism.
Okay.
And so this is not necessarily the summer backpacking trip, but it's for those people who, you know, whether it's in spring break or whether it's after they do graduate, and so it is kind of a backpack trip or a post-graduation trip where they volunteer.
Right.
And there are tons of issues with this.
Okay.
Where perhaps it's not, the intentions are good.
Yes.
But the kind of help that you're giving
doesn't
match up with what you intend to give.
Right.
And so this one article was it's from the Doctor's Channel, and it's called 7 Reasons Why Your 2-Week Trip to Haiti Doesn't Matter: Calling Bull on Service Trips and Voluntourism.
Okay.
So the first one is that they are entirely too focused on how the volunteers benefit. This is so true. The whole thing is not altruistic.
No, it's
especially when you're posting pictures on social media, Instagram, whatever, of you and all of the kids at the orphanage.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Look at me in this orphanage.
I'm so great. Look, you know, I'm helping these poor children out. Ugh. And then the kids all look uncomfortable. Yeah. The people around look uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. Like, the whole thing. Another point that they make is the lasting impact of short-term voluntourism trips is often negligible, and that's so true.
In terms of just like...
Well, just the kind of help that you can provide, especially with different volunteer groups and companies. Like, I mean, if you do your research and you find a place that's fantastic and helps, you know, whatever the organization is, it helps them out, then that's awesome. But sometimes it's super short-sighted and it's more tour rather than volunteer. Exactly. Here, their point is that it's offensive and can even contribute to further problems.
I mean, that goes back to the whole Instagram.
Absolutely.
Look at me. They're not tourist attractions.
Right, and how...
children.
Yeah. And how the country or the place or region or wherever you are, how they perceive, you know, wherever country you're from.
Yeah.
That's important. And that's something that should be researched as well. Because I would never want to go into a place where their perception of my country or the kind of people who I belong to isn't a healthy thing. Yeah. I don't want to cause them grief or to make them feel like they're on display.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I don't want to contribute to that. They're an egregious waste of money. Absolutely. I mean, especially if you're paying a third-party company. Yeah. And all the money that you're spending, how much of that is actually going to the organization that's in need, and how much of that is going to the voluntourism organization. 100%.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And then
you don't really know where the money's going. Let's be honest.
Don't.
They can say, oh, this much percentage. No, you show me the books.
Absolutely. And then the last one that I'm going to say is there's a difference between skilled and unskilled help. And amen. Yeah. When you come in and if it's a company that's not giving you training, not only on the culture and the people, but also the thing that you're supposed to be doing, whether it's, you know, building a school or building a well or whatever it is that you're doing, it's such a waste of time, not only yours, but theirs as well. Yeah. And everybody's involved if you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah. So let's shoot the science. We're going to talk about a recent-ish study that was done in 2014. The Oregon Health and Science University School of Medicine and Georgetown University, a couple researchers there, studied medical student debt and major life choices other than specialty. So they took a look at, I mean, the median debt for med students in the States is astronomical. Obscene. Apparently, they pay more than $170,000
per year
total.
Oh, okay. I was like, Jesus.
That's how much debt graduates of med schools in the U.S. typically have. So they say that the debate still exists as to whether higher debt levels influence students to choose high-paying non-primary care specialties. Mm-hmm. And really no research has been done on the cost of attendance and how that influences specialties.
Right.
And career choices. So they ended up finding that it does affect it. It affects major life choices like when to start a family, mm-hmm. when to buy a home, and what specialty to choose. Now, do you think this is problematic in terms of looking at just med students? When you're seeing a gap in the healthcare industry, particularly with physicians, this is super important.
It really is.
Right? Like if I can't blame them. If they have over $170,000 in student debt, why wouldn't they want to go into plastics
and make
a ton of money to recover that loss? And
not
it's all the
worry
things.
About finances.
Exactly.
It 100% makes sense.
And then there's a shortage in family doctors,
general care practitioners.
Yeah.
And also you have to think about, and I don't know how to say this without being like not necessarily offensive, but the quality of doctor that you're getting in certain specialties.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, is that really a best fit for that doctor? Like, no doubt they're capable, but is it a best fit? Do they like their job or not?
And that makes a huge difference, the way that they see their job and how they approach, the day-to-day grind and how that's affecting their patients.
Exactly.
Directly and indirectly. Absolutely. And then, but when you think about your own studies, it's like you're in a predicament where you need to get a job, mm-hmm. and so you might not be doing something that's your passion.
Right.
And instead, you're looking at a career path that will pay off your debt.
Yeah.
And that's a loss to society.
Yeah.
Not just because I think you're an amazing teacher, but also because, well, you're an amazing teacher. I mean, and it's society's loss that you're stuck in this financial sort of lock.
Yeah.
Where you can't pursue the thing that you're meant to do.
Yeah. Because
of so many factors, not just financial, but yeah, and society loses out on that. And it's tough. It's sad. I mean, for me at least, I'm going to graduate in about a year and a half, and who knows where I'm going to end up. Because the jobs are not, because the not only the provincial government, I mean, Quebec's a little bit better in terms of funding, but then looking at other provincial governments, certainly the federal government, they don't value registered dietitians like they do other healthcare professionals. And so people tend to have to pay out of pocket to receive the kind of service that I would give.
Right.
And if you have tons of people online who are, touting this diet and that diet and, this will work and you can lose weight and this, that, the other
all
thing.
These bloggers and...
Exactly. And we're competing against those people who do it for much cheaper or for free. Then why would they pay money to go see someone to tell them to eat vegetables and move more?
Right. But
which we do way more than that.
You do way more than that, but that's the
perception.
The perception that people have of dietitians.
Yeah.
This got me down,
I know.
Man.
But it's okay. You're meant to do this thing, and I believe that you'll do it. Absolutely.
Hopefully, eventually.
Okay, and then the last study that I looked at it was really interesting, talked about racial and ethnic variation in the relationship between student loan debt and the transition to first birth.
Oh.
So this was really cool. This data came from the 1997 National Longitudinal Survey of Youth. They took a look at white, black, and Hispanic women. And what they ended up finding was that black women with student loans are significantly more likely to transition to any first childbirth over the other racial groups. Indebted white women experience only a decrease in the probability of a marital first birth. But Hispanic women themselves experience significant declines in the probability of transitioning to both marital and non-marital motherhood. So this is interesting because it has a lot to do with opportunity.
Okay.
And this data is coming from the States. And so, racial groups definitely, it's a different dynamic and experience that Hispanic women, Black women, and white women have compared to in Canada, what we're used to. But it seems interesting that the results from this particular study showing that student loans will play a key role in shaping the future demographic patterns and behaviors, birth rate. If women are having kids much later because their student loans are so significant, what does that mean for the next generation of children? What does that mean for our generation when we're going to be, in our 50s and 60s with these kids who are graduating high school? Like, what does that look like? And are they going to be able to support us? Will they be in the workforce by then? I mean, Jesus, we're graduating in our 30s with no work experience, no prospect of ever having a job, and we're meant to support the older generations.
The baby boomers especially right now.
It's nuts. And then they're hanging on to their jobs because they're feeling like they don't have enough, to support themselves through their retirement. It's such an interesting dynamic of what's happening right now, and especially in our country. Not just in Canada too, but in the States as well.
Yeah.
Does it surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
At all. I think there might have been a little bit of surprise in terms of the Hispanics being so affected.
Yeah.
Especially compared to, our African American friends. That's the, like, why is there such a discrepancy there?
Yeah. It could be that the data is, there just aren't a lot of women going to university comparatively.
It's possible.
That is possible. I think also you have to take a look at child rearing too. In Black communities, it's like, it takes a village, which is so true in any community. It should be that way. But, you definitely tend to see more aunties and grandma and women and cousins and everybody around raising kids and helping out with childcare that you probably don't see in other communities.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's why they feel supported and able to have kids despite their student debt and despite, being students. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah.
Probably have a lot more to say, but that'll be another episode.
Yeah. We could honestly talk forever.
Yeah. We'll have student debt forever, so we'll definitely have something to talk about. All right, thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Two Drugged Girls podcast with Rachel and Jessica.
This podcast has been brought to you by no current sponsors, so connect with us at twodruggedgirlspodcast@gmail.com.
Subscribe to our podcast on SoundCloud and leave us a review.
Don't forget to catch our next episode.
Stay cool.
Bye.